Hey everyone, it's Jill the Wandering Stamper, and I hope you're having a fabulous Wednesday. Today we are making the cutest pop-up bandstand card. It will be a Halloween card, and I'm going to show you a couple other samples of Halloween cards made with this, but you certainly can use any occasion for this fun fold. It's a great way to use elements, designer series paper, and cute little images to pop out in a very eye-catching card. And I love that it folds flat and fits in a regular envelope. So you get a lot of bang for your buck, but it is not a bulky card, which makes it really nice for postage. Let me take a moment to turn down the camera and we'll get started on this card. Thanks so much for joining me today. Here's what we're using today. We're gonna grab some Tuxedo Black Memento ink. This is a go-to staple with stampers, that's for sure. I have some Smoky Slate and some pumpkin pie ink, so we're going to set that aside for later. And we are going to be using the adorable Spooky Halloween stamp set and dies. I love these. They're so much fun and they're so cute. Everything's just perfect for Halloween. And then the dies, look at this. I think this is a tombstone. That's the way I use it, but there's a little die there with a bat that pops up. The haunted house is super cute. You've got bats, broomsticks, pumpkins, the little trick-or-treaters, and a fence. So lots and lots of fun ways to build. So we're going to use this. And since we have a little bit more time left in September, I figured I had some time to show you another Halloween card. We're also going to use these Shimmer Star Foam stickers. I love these and they're really soft. I wish they came out with more shapes like this. I love that they're foam because they're not hard and they're very lightweight. So I feel like when you put these on your cards, you're not going to have that bulky card that you get with some of the other embellishments. I actually avoid some of the really tall embellishments because they just make the card so bulky that you always have to use that extra stamp for non-metered mail. So I like these little foam ones and I wish they came out with more of these. So Stampin' Up! If you're listening, get some more foam stamps or foam embellishments. I love it. We're going to be using these two shades of designer series paper, and this comes from the Spooky Sweet 12 by 12 paper, and we also have some of these laser cut punch outs that we're using. So I've punched out several of these. If you haven't seen this paper, it's so cute, and it actually has little tags that you can cut out to put on treats. There's all kind of backgrounds. You can fussy cut lots of the little creatures, and then of course there's these little die cut creatures, and they all complement the little trick-or-treaters in the stamp set. So we'll be using these two shades of paper, and I just grabbed some scraps. Scraps work great for this card. And then our base is going to be pumpkin pie, so I grabbed my pumpkin pie paper as well. So let me grab a sheet of this paper and we will get started. This is a very simple card to make, but it looks so, so cool when it's done. People are going to think you spent quite a bit of time making it. So let me move some things out of my way and grab my paper cutter. All right. So we're going to start out with our base, and our base is going to be 4 1/4 by 5 3/8. So I have a full sheet of paper, so I'm going to cut 5 3/8. Because then when I do the 4 1/4, I still have half of sheet. So I can actually do 2 cards with this sheet of paper. I really like when that works out. So that is our base. So once you have your 4 1/4 by 5 3/8, you're going to put the 5 3/8 side at the top, and you're going to score 3/4 inches on each end. So we've got 3/4. And then I'm using this side of the ruler and doing the other 3/4. You can always just flip it around as well. All right, so that is that piece. We're going to set that aside. Then you need one more piece of your pumpkin pie for the rest of the base, and these are the 2 bandstand pieces. So we're going to cut 2 1/2 by 7. So this is the other half of that sheet of paper. So I'm going to do 2 1/2, and then I'm going to cut in. Wow, I just realized that there's a gap between the back of my desk and the wall, and I just lost the rest of my paper back there. I'll have to dig that out somehow. All right, I'm cutting an 1.5 inches because I happen to know this is 8.5 inches long and I only need 7 inches, so I just cut 1.5 inches off instead of taking my little arm out. Now we're going to do some scoring. So we're going to score it at 3/4, 2 1/2, 4 1/2, and 6 1/4. All right, and 6 1/4 is, you don't really need the arm out, but for me it's easier to see that 6 1/4 when I bring my arm out. 6 1/4. All right, so once you have all of those scoring spaces done, so we've got 3/4, 2 1/2, 4 1/2, and 6 1/4. Now you're going to turn it so the short end is at the top, and you're going to cut it in half, which would be at the 1 1/4 inch mark. That's just so you don't have to sit and score 2 pieces. So these are your 2 bandstand pieces. All right, we're going to set those aside, and now we're going to do some panels. All right, so this is where some layers on our panels. So this is where this paper comes out. We're going to go ahead and start with the inside. So the inside piece is going to be 3 3/4 by 4 1/8. So I'm going to just cut it 3 3/4 and 4 1/8. So I don't want to cut this whole piece because it may not work out for other cards. So there we go. So that is my back of my card. And then while I'm doing that, I'm going to cut some additional strips. I'm going to cut 4 pieces that are, let's see, 5/8 by 4 1/8. Okay, so actually, this is 4 1/8. So I'm going to go ahead, cut this aside, and now we're going to do 5/8. So I want 4 of these. So 5/8. So we've got 1. I did cut the right side of this, didn't I? I've done that before, yes. 2. 3. And 4. So 4 of those. All right, so I'm going to set those aside. Simple so far, right? All right, now that's all for the gray. Now I'm going to grab my scrap of this orange, and I'm going to cut 4 pieces that are 1 by 1 1/2. So I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to do 1 1/2, and then let's see if I can get 4 out of this. So we've got 1, 2, had to think about it. What am I doing? 3, and then that last piece was an inch, so 4. Okay, so we've got 4 of those. All right. And then last but not least, we need 2 that are 1 by 1 3/4. So I'm going to do, I'm just cutting it in a way that I'm going to get the most bang for my buck here. So there's 1 and 2. Okay, so that's that. And then last but not least, we need a piece for the back. So I'm just going to grab a scrap of my basic white, and we're going to make that 3 3/4 by 4 1/8. So let's go ahead and cut that. And this is for the back, because that's where we're gonna put our place that we write on. All right, I think that's it. So let's go ahead and set this aside, and now I'm going to show you what to do with this. Let's grab that silicone craft sheet. One other thing we're going to do is, I cannot decide if I want to do white or Daffodil Delight. I'm going to go ahead and do the Daffodil Delight. I'm just going to grab a scrap of that, and I'm going to cut a circle. This is my 1 7/8 inch circle punch. So I'm going to be making a moon. So I'm going to go ahead and grab that and set that aside. Okay, so let's go ahead and start working on our card. So we've got our base. So we're going to take those 2 score lines and we're going to fold them up. So valley folds. All right, and give it a nice little press with the bone folder. All right, and that is where this large piece of designer series paper is going to go, and then 2 of these strips right here. Okay, we're going to save the other 2 for the card when it's done. So we're going to go ahead and put these in the card. So I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of liquid glue. This card is so easy. I think I'm going to make some Thanksgiving cards with this fool too. It's just such a fun way to make all your stuff stand out. All right, so there we go. That's in. And then I'm going to put my other 2 pieces right on the inside. And it just makes it nice and clean and neat. You don't have to put these 2 pieces in there if you're short on paper, or you just don't want to. You don't have to. It doesn't really show that much, but I think it looks cool, so I'm doing it. So there's that one. I've had such a morning already. I got up super early, took a shower, jumped in the car, went to my daughter's house, because that's the beauty of being here right outside of Fort Carson and Colorado Springs, is being able to babysit while we're here. I babysat my grandson for a few hours and then came back, and now I'm working on my cards. He is so cute. He's a year old and he's at that really fun age. All right, now we're going to work on these slips, these strips. These are your bandstand strips. So you're going to fold these all mountain folds and give them a nice little press with your bone folder, just like this. Now you could do this before you put the paper strips on there or after, totally up to you. I like to do it before. It's just easier for me to see the score lines, so that's my preference. But you do whatever works for you. I'm sure you have your own little shortcuts and tricks. All right, so there's those. So now we have the 2 1 3/4 pieces. Those go in the middle. And then the other 4 smaller pieces go on the outside. And where are my other 2? There they are. Sometimes things disappear around here. All right. So we're going to go ahead and put these on. Super simple, right? All this is in the beginning is layering. So we're just layering these on. Now there is enough room to actually make this slightly bigger and put a different layer, like black behind this would look really cool. So you could do, let's see, that would be 5/8. That would be 3/4 by 1 1/4 or 2 or 1 7/8, depending on if you're doing the middle or the outside. If you wanted to add the black behind it, you would just make it 1/8 of an inch bigger. So instead of 5/8, you would do 3/4, and then instead of 1 inch, you would do 1 1/4, or instead of 1 3/4, you would do 1 7/8. I think I have that math right in my head. It's kind of early to do mathing, but you get my drift. So you can totally make this one step fancier by doing that. Really easy way. And of course you can adjust things any way you like. I'm always adjusting my sizes based on what I'm doing. That's the beauty of paper, is you can manipulate it in so many different ways. I mean, we can color it and embellish it and emboss it and paint it. There's just so many things you could do with it. Tear it. I mean, tearing can be a great way to make paper even more interesting. All right, there's those 3. Got a little too much glue on that one. And now we're going to add these last 2. And then it's all about decorating. Hoping my turkeys are around the corner. We have a flock of, I don't know, 15 turkeys in the campground. Full-grown turkeys. And they walk through our campsite a couple times a day and hang out. And I get such enjoyment looking straight ahead, right outside my window, and there they are. And yesterday there was this big tom turkey, and he was looking at the truck across from us, And I think he was admiring himself in the chrome. And he stood there looking at himself and pecking at that chrome for a couple of hours. It was so funny to watch. I just love watching wildlife. All right, so there are our two pieces. Let me show you how to put those on. Now, before I put that on, I'm going to go ahead and decorate the inside of this. You can decorate it afterwards, and a lot of time I do that. I just happen to know what I'm doing with this card, so I'm going to go ahead and decorate it now. But you can totally decorate it after you assemble the card. It's real easy to slip anything you want in the card on there. So what I'm adding is one of these laser cut trees from the Designer Series paper pack. I'm just putting it in there. It kind of almost makes it like a shadow box. And then I think I'm going to add this little crow here. Or I could add this little trick-or-treater. I think he's going to go on the front. I'm going to add the crow inside. Just put a little glue there. And I'm going to put him right here. All right, just like that. All right, so then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to be adding one panel to the bottom and one panel to the top. So what I do is, whoops, you want to open your card all the way. All right, and these wrap perfectly around. So there's our 2 3/4 inch score marks. All right, so it's super easy. You just flip it over and add your liquid glue or your adhesive, whatever you're using. I'm a liquid glue girl now that I have this glue press that I got from my Sweet Petunia, and I am not an affiliate. I just love their products. Maybe I should be an affiliate, but I'm not. So, all right. So there's that. And once I get it glued on, I just kind of stand it up and make sure it's flush. All right. Now I'm going to do the same thing with the top. I'm just going to fold it over. And you can actually flip it upside down if that's easier and just make it nice and even. And then I'm going to go ahead and add my liquid glue again. Just a little bit does it. And this is liquid. This is the multi-purpose liquid glue. I just keep refilling my bottle with it whenever it gets low. And it holds about 2 bottles of multi-purpose liquid glue. So I don't have to fill it very often. All right, so there we go. So there is our bandstand shape. All right, so we've got that, and see how cool that looks, and there's like a little shadow box. So now all we have to do is start decorating. So let's go ahead and do some stamping on some scrap paper first. I'm going to grab a scrap here, and I'm going to grab my black, and I'm going to grab my Happy Halloween stamp. So let's grab that right here. And I'm going to stamp my Happy Halloween. Just like that. All right. Now, a lot of time I would just use a punch or fussy cut around it. But see, it's a little bit too big. So what I've decided I'm going to do with this card is I'm going to cut out both words separately and put one at the top and one at the bottom. So I am just taking my paper snips, and you want to always just do rounded corners. They just look nice. And I'm just cutting around just like so. And you can do as much cutting around as you want. I usually do a little bit of shape to it. All right, so there's our Halloween. And then I'm going to grab the Happy and finish going around this word. Super easy to do. I mean, if there's a die, I would probably have used it, but this is pretty easy. And I just like to make sure I don't have any sharp edges. So there we go. That was pretty easy. So I know that's going to go on our card. And then we have that moon, what we'll call the moon. And I feel like it looks a little plain being just yellow. And I thought about doing it in white, but I think I'm going to do yellow. So I just got my little sponge dauber that I use for dark colors like grays and blacks. And I'm just going to brush this gray along the edge, and it's just going to help our moon look more moonish. All right, so I'm going to just put a little bit all around just until you're happy with it. So I just added some streaks here and there. So now it's not as, I don't know, green, bright green. All right, so we have that done. Now we have this cute little stamp with the bats. So I'm going to go ahead and grab, I don't have a little block out, but this will work. So I'm going to grab these bats, and where did I put my ink? Grab my ink, and we're going to add these little bats right there, just like that. Look how cute they are. All right. And then all we have left is, let's go ahead and do something with this. So I'm going to, let's see, let's do the All Tricks, No Treats. That's cute. And I need another block. Grab a block. All right. I'm going to ink that up. And I'm going to put it right there. Okay. And then I'm going to close up this black, and I'm going to grab my pumpkin pie. And we have this stamp that has kind of little, I don't know, little stars and stuff. So we're going to use that. Hopefully that block's big enough. It is. All right. And we're just going to add some of these. Look at this. I'm not even using a sheet of paper. Well, I've already done it, so I'm going to have to wipe it off anyways. All right. That was a rookie mistake. There we go. That looks good. All right. That is all for that. So that just kind of gave it a little bit more interest. And we're going to set this aside so I can wipe it off. All right, so that's done. So we have all our pieces done. So now we can assemble. So before you came on, I went ahead and die cut this little house. Look how cute it is. This little haunted house, and it actually like has little features already popped into it, which is really neat. All right, so it looks really plain white because we would see through it. So I'm going to go ahead and grab another piece of scrap paper. And when I did my house, I figured out where I wanted my light or my windows, my yellow to come through. So I want it to have all this yellow, but there's no die that just cuts out the outline. So I went ahead and put a piece of white paper behind it, just like so. And then I cut it out so in a way that it would act as a template next time I use that die. I need to adjust it. I just made this template. So now I can just keep this in the card box, and whenever I want to create that background, I have this. All right. So how to use that? I'm just going to go ahead and put it on my scrap paper and trace it and then cut it out. So it just is a big time saver for me when, whoops, I want to make a bunch of these. Now I have a little template, and I don't have to sit there and fussy cut around trying to figure out how to create that light behind the house windows and doors. So make yourself a little template. Just write that it's a template on the box or on the paper, and then put it in your stamp box and you'll have it. All right, so there's that. And so now this fits right there. See? And covers up your holes. All right. So there's two ways you can do it. You could just put a little piece of paper under here or just dab a little adhesive. I just put a little bit of adhesive where I know it's going to go. It doesn't need a lot. It's not getting moved around a lot. That's plenty. And then I'm going to pop it on here and just make sure it covers all my spots. Just like so, and just make sure nothing is in the way. There we go. All right. So that's a lot easier than me trying to cut around it using that that little die. So make yourself your own little template and it makes your life a little easier. All right, so that's done. So let's go ahead and assemble this card. So I'm going to go ahead and start on the back, and I'm going to attach this piece to the back. I've already decorated it. All right, easy peasy. Do you remember those two gray slips of paper that we cut that we still have? That's where they go. And that just kind of hides, it helps hide where we've folded over that paper, but it also makes the card look prettier on the back. You don't have to add this, but I think it just makes it look nice. Because when you're looking at the back, you want it to look as cute as the front. So there's that piece. And here's the second piece. All right, so now you should have all of your slips of paper that you cut on your card. So there's the back all done. All right, so now we're going to work on the front. So I've decided I want to have the moon in the house right here. So I'm going to go ahead and just put some glue up here to attach my house, and then down here on the bottom. All right, nothing hard about it, just put it however you want. If you want to put them flying sideways, that works. And now I'm just going to, actually I need a little bit of glue up here, and you could do this glue afterwards if you wanted to. And now I'm just going to center that about right there. And you just want to make sure everything looks good. That looks good. I'll straighten my house a little. There we go. All right, that looks good. So now we have our Happy Halloween. All right, so I'm going to put that on the top and bottom. And I think I'm going to use some dimensionals for that. I have these. I have so many scrap dimensionals. They're going to come in handy today. Look at this. This is all scrap. We're going to use it today. I think this sheet is not cut. So I have a couple of spots I can put a large dimensional on. So we can put a big one there. And probably a big one there. And then we're going to use some of these little scraps for the rest of it. So use up your scraps. Let's see, we'll do one here. See, these fit perfectly right there. All right, these little papers are going to fight with me today. And I have a couple little pieces over here, so we'll put one here and one here. So yeah, don't throw your papers away when you have the edges left, because those come in handy for these little cards. So let's go ahead and take all these papers off. All right, so we've got happy. Now you could put that offset or you could put it straight. I'm just going to put it straight, I think, today. Just like that. And we've got Halloween. Now, the only thing you want to remember about the dimensionals on the bottom is you don't want them to be on these two panels because the card doesn't open. So that actually works out perfect. It's just the right height. So we have this little guy, and I think he's going to go on here because he's a cute little trick-or-treater. So we'll go ahead and add a little glue to him and put him right here. Look how cute. All right. And then we have that tombstone. So this is a little die with a bat, and all I can think is it has to be a tombstone. It doesn't really say what it is, but it could also maybe be, I don't know. I use it as a tombstone. So it looks like that, but I think it needs something else. Let's go ahead and grab our ink again, and let me grab another die. So let's see. I think what I'm going to do is borrow the Trick or Treat from Fright Night, because these all work together. So we have Trick or Treat. So I'm going to go ahead and put it on here, and I'm only going to stamp. I'm going to have to get my stamp cleaner out. I've got dirty stamps everywhere, and I usually clean them, but it's okay. I'm going to get my stamp cleaner out because we're going to need it. All right, I'm just going to stamp Ink Up Trick. So, okay. So we have Trick or Treat. So what I did was I stamped Trick and I stamped Treat. Then I put some tape on the words Trick and Treat. So, and then just stamped Or and put Or in the middle. So I was able to take a long word and fit it right on there. So that's how you do that. My first one was a little crooked, so I decided to make another one real quick because I was trying to do it without putting my head in the camera. And sometimes it's just better to stand up and do it so you can see it. All right, so then you just fold it in half, just like so. And then I'm going to put a little stream of glue on both bottoms, just like so. And then we're going to grab that card and we're just going to sandwich it right there and put it right in the middle. So you've got your little tombstone sticking up. Isn't that cute? Just like that. All right. So again, there's that die. So now all we have left is these cute little bats that I die cut. I love these bats. They're just the right size. So you could use dimensionals for this. I'm not going to. I'm just going to put them right on there. Just like so. And let's see, which way do we want our bats? We'll do one like this. And I'm going to add a little more glue. And we'll do one over here. It's almost like having embellishments on it, right? Now we could do another one, but I think two's enough. Maybe we can add one on the back, or two. Since we have them, why not use them? So let's go ahead and we'll put that one there. No, we'll add this other one. Why not? We have it. Let's use it. Otherwise, it just gets put in my stamp case and used next time. All right, there we go. So let's see. I think this looks pretty good. I'm going to add a couple of these stars inside because it's nighttime. Oh, or we could actually add them here too. Let's just add them out here. I thought about adding, actually we can. We'll add one right here and then we'll add two here. Yes, I like that. All right, our card is done. Look how adorable this card is. So as I said, it folds perfectly flat and fits in that A2 envelope. And when it's standing on the shelf, you can see all the cuteness inside and out. Look how it sits up. So cute on the counter. You could also put a little votive in there and not put this little background in here if you wanted to. And then on the back, you have plenty of room to write. Cute, right? All right, let's look at the other samples. Look at this card. This one is so cute, and the only difference is, look, I didn't put any panels here, and it looks perfectly fine. And we have one of the little house scenes inside that's on that designer series paper. I love all the little trick-or-treat houses. So this little girl was colored using Stampin' Blends, and then I added Wink of Stella to her hat and her skirt to give it a little glimmer. And then I used one of those die cut brooms and put that behind her. And then this is one of the tags that is on the designer series paper. So I cut that out and then added a panel of black cardstock behind it to really help it pop. And then it just has some cute little pink embellishments on the front. So, so cute. Very simple, but it's so much fun. And then on the back, it says Happy Halloween. I added the bat and colored it in with some Wink of Stella, and then added the little broom to the back because we have a broom on the front, and I thought that would put it all together nicely. So there's our second one. Oh my gosh, this is my favorite card. Look at this one. I used the Fright Night bundle, and I added a hanging spider. And I know you probably can't tell, but I colored the spider with Wink of Stella, and there's actually two spiders. So I put glue on the spiders inside, and then put the string in there and sandwiched it together so it holds really well. And then I added a couple of glue dots to the back for the string, and then put a little piece of black cardstock over the glue dots to hide it. So it just hangs perfectly, and I love how it just kind of dangles there. And then instead of just stamping in black, I embossed this in black embossing powder, so it's really kind of shimmery and bright. And then I took the same die that cuts this out, and I cut out a second piece of pumpkin pie, and then I just cut it apart, so I only have a little piece down here and a piece down there, and just kind of brought them up a little bit slightly taller, so it kind of looks like it has a frame behind it, but it really doesn't because I just cut it apart. And then I added my two webs and some more of those black stars. And guess where this designer series paper came from? So we've got this Secret Sea shade of designer series paper, and then it's really cool orange stripes. This designer series paper is actually the celebratory Sips paper. So look and see what designer series paper you have. You may have the perfect paper. If you don't have a Halloween paper left, use something else. So that worked really, really well. But look, so I didn't use any dimensionals on the front, and these foam stars flattened perfectly. So since there wasn't any dimension, I had room to put some dimension on the back. So I added the spider web and the spider is on there with a little dimensional. And again, he's colored with Wink of Stella, so he's kind of creepy and shiny. And then I made this little Halloween banner, and that is one of the dies in this stamp set. They have a couple of stamps that have their, I don't know, banner shape. So there's a banner die. So you can cut that out and layer them. So I layered this with dimensionals, so it's actually popped out. So the pop out is actually on the bottom of the back of the card, and the front is flat. So you've got a lot of dimension there. So there are our 3 Halloween cards. And as I mentioned, this card would work great for any season, any occasion, just anything you have fun and want to showcase, and those lovely background papers really get shown off. So it's almost like that shadow box effect. So don't forget, you can click on the link below to go to my blog. I have all of the cutting and scoring directions on there, as well as a list of all the products that I used, and my online store is there as well. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to click on the subscribe button and hit that bell to get reminders of all of my videos. And I hope you enjoyed this one. I know we're almost done with September, and I'm almost done with Halloween cards, but I wanted to give you another one because it is the season, and I wanted you to be able to have some great ideas for those fun Halloween cards if you're one of those people that likes to send them. I'm Jill the Wandering Stamper. I'm going to go outside and look for my turkeys, and I will see you next week with another fun fold. Have a great day. Happy crafting. See you later. Bye.